Well, welcome everybody. My name, for those of you I don't know, is Margaret Heldring or Margie Heldring, and I am the founder and executive director of Grandmothers for Gun Responsibility. Here comes John from, this is great. And hey, John, good to see you. And I was also the founder and chair for many years of Grandmothers Against Gun Violence in Washington State. And I say that because I've been around for 13 years now, and I feel like I know this issue quite well, and I feel like I spot the people who are making a difference in this, and that is Vision Quilt. And so I want to welcome everybody, thank everybody for being here and say just a couple words that I think are important to ground us all in this. One is we almost always start our communications committee meetings with the reminder to ourselves, gun violence is preventable. We do not need to live like this in this country. The second thing is that along with Grandmothers Against Gun Violence on Cape Cod, Grandparents for Gun Safety in Kansas, Missouri, we are the voice of our generation in the gun violence prevention movement, which is an intergenerational movement, including very much in Vision Quilt. And we are bringing in with these other groups, and we hope we become one group pretty shortly, we are bringing in the voice of our generation to round out. We have students, we have moms, we have survivors. Now we're going to have grandmothers and grandfathers as well. So I first heard Cathy present at a weekly National Gun Violence Prevention meeting that takes place or came across her and immediately spotted somebody and her team who are onto something very powerful and very valuable in the gun violence prevention movement. And I've been excited about this since day one. I believe in the arts as a tool for social change, as a tool for transformation. I believe that for the gun violence prevention movement at this time, where our legislative solutions are quite limited on the federal level, and in many states where our judicial remedies are questionable and variable and unpredictable, we have to literally get creative and look for different pathways to safety for our children and teens in this country, for whom gun violence is the number one cause of death. So we have been looking forward to this tremendously. We are really happy to welcome Cathy DeForest, Margaret Hoffman, and Diana Garcia. Is she here? Oh, I don't. Oh, there. Hi. Yeah, I waved at you earlier. Um, Members of the Vision Quilt team to share their vision and their work. And we certainly want to move into Q&A and discussion. So please feel free to pose your questions and comments and thoughts as we go along. And Cathy or I, or whatever Cathy says, will be addressing them. Maybe kind of a tag team thing, depending on what the question is. So thank you for being here. I think you're going to quite enjoy this. And Cathy, let me turn it over to you and welcome you. And thank you.
Well, thank you. It's a real honor to be with all of you today. Thank you for all the work you've done, some of you for decades in this space, and we're very grateful to be talking with you today. We don't have time for all of you to introduce yourself, but if you don't mind putting in the chat your name and where you're doing your work, either where you live or where you're doing your work, that would be helpful to us overall. So feel free to write that in the chat. So right now I'll introduce myself in a minute, but I'd like Margaret Hoffman to introduce herself, and then Diana Garcia, and then I'll be going through a presentation for you. And we want to leave at least 25 to 30 minutes at the end to hear your questions, your comments, that kind of thing, and see how it fits with your ongoing work. So Margaret, will you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, Margaret Hoffman, yeah.
Margaret Hoffman, right. Margaret, can you take yourself off
Okay,
mute? There you
I'm taking myself off mute, but I'm only going to do it briefly because I'm in a public space because I
Okay.
don't have Wi-Fi at home. Anyway, I'm Margaret Hoffman. I am a volunteer with Vision Quilt. Prior to joining Vision Quilt, I was a social worker and then a lawyer for a number of years, and I enjoy my work with Cathy. I'm going to go back on mute because I'm in this public space. Okay?
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. So Margaret gave a very understated view of herself. She was a practicing lawyer for over 30 years and has been very, very helpful in doing outreach here in Portland and nationally. Diana, now please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. A pleasure to be here today. I am Diana Garcia. I am the Program Manager and Development Director for Vision Quilt. I am in Oakland, California, and I work alongside Kathy and Margaret and a few other people on our team to make this work happen. So thank you for the opportunity of presenting today and showing you guys a little bit more about how art helps this movement, this very powerful movement that we're all a part of.
Okay, another understated person. She's a graphic designer and a performer and a mom, and has really been a very dynamic part of our team. Okay, so I will tell you how Vision Quilt started. I actually had a dream 10 years ago in 2015, and I woke up and I said, I can't stand for one more kid to be shot. This is solvable, just like what Margaret said. This issue is solvable. And I had the idea about using art to touch people's minds and hearts so that then they would act, no matter where they were on the gun perspective, whether they were gun owners or veterans or policemen, that art, amplifying the art of people, especially those who have been affected by gun violence, which at this point in this country is almost everyone, that their visions for a safer world could help bring about change. So I'll start the presentation because it will help you kind of understand what we are doing. And then, as I said, we really want to hear from you. So thank
Kathy,
you.
if you'd like, I can share the slides and then you can focus on presenting.
Okay.
Right.
And we have permission to share, right?
You should.
Let me try. Diana, I've got them. I got it. I got it.
Okay.
All right. So everybody can see that, right? Okay. So Vision Quilt's mission is to empower communities to create solutions to gun violence through the power of art, education, inclusive dialogue, and systemic change efforts. We work with people of all ages, inviting them to awaken the visionary inside of themselves, to amplify their visions and voices to create safe neighborhoods and schools. And that's our website. Now, we have a big update that even the grandmother team doesn't know about. We are changing our name.
Oh,
We are working with lawyers to do this. Our new name is Visioning Beyond Violence. We just feel like it describes much more clearly what we do, because we've been explaining, no, you don't need a sewing machine, no, you don't have to be a quilter, all of those things. So our new name in a couple of weeks will be Visioning Beyond Violence, and we'll be changing our website. Now, the big question here is, what is visioning? And this is how we are defining it. It's a quality of thinking and being that influences making choices and created new ways of being and doing. So that definition is very important to us because of that word being, creating new ways of being and also doing. So it's getting into a mindset of being different, whether you're wondering if you should be in a gang or whether you should lock up your gun. It's a new way of thinking about yourself and about the actions that you take in the world. And what visioning does is that it invites participants to imagine a world where safety, care, and connection are possible, even in the face of violence or trauma. And we've been doing this work now for 10 years, and we've worked with a lot of youth and survivors who obviously have had trauma. And so part of our process is doing trauma-informed care and principles related to our training. The person on the left here is an art therapist at Lewis and Clark College here in Portland, Oregon. She is part Native American, so she chose the medicine wheel for her vision quilt. And you can see it says justice is medicine. Oh, I should be doing this differently, right?
You should, here, I can share, Cathy.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Diana's gonna do a better technical view. I'm sorry.
Is this better?
Okay. So she talked about feeling all knotted up after the new administration came in, and she literally took silver thread and knots and made this Vision Quilt panel out of silver threads. And behind the wheel it looks like a constellation of the universe. So you can see the level of care that can go into these Vision Quilt panels. Okay, next slide, Diana. So visioning really helps staff and community members build resilience. It helps families express hopes as well as grief. It's cathartic. And it helps staff process burnout, trauma, and collective loss. The photograph on the right is taken in Chicago with some survivors and community leaders. Okay. During COVID, we supported one of your sister chapters, Grandmothers for Gun Safety in Kansas City. We actually sent them art materials, and they created Vision Quilt panels for their advocacy work. And Diana, if you'll touch the virtual gallery, what we've done is we have posted their images. And Diana, why don't you just scroll through a couple so that they get larger. Yeah. So this is what we've done on our website. Go ahead. Just one after the other. This is what they did during COVID. And then they've used them ever since for exhibitions and for their advocacy. And it really helped them feel connected to each other and to their work. So you can see there's a wide variety of what they can look like. It really is the person's vision. Okay, that's good. Diana, you can go back to the slide presentation. So people ages 3 to 96 have created these artworks. They're 18 by 24 inches. And we use them, we took them at that size because you can literally wear them like a human billboard, and we've marched with survivors and vigils, and we've also used them in marches. But we've been very inclusive. Gun owners have been part of the project from the beginning. Veterans have been part of it, physicians, and we've worked with incarcerated youth and adults. Okay. So people in 10 states have partnered with us to utilize our curriculum, including, I love this one from Bainbridge Island. This was a group of middle school students. And, this was a couple of years ago. Politics shouldn't determine lives. I mean, it was a brilliant thing that a 13-year-old put on her Vision Quilt panel. And one of my friends teaches in San Quentin, and this was one of the panels made there. This person said, and I know you care very much about self-storage as an organization. And he said, perhaps if guns had been locked up when I was young, I wouldn't be serving 21 years. So people, that's fine, Diana. People, write up a Vision Quilt artist statement so that that's posted along with the artworks. From the past discussion we had with Margaret and your team, we know that these are some of your top priorities: safe storage, extreme risk protection orders, protecting children and teens, and we're grateful for your priority in utilizing art to create change and build coalitions. So you can see this was a panel that was done by a grandmother in Oregon. And there's a wild group in Portland called Raging Grannies. And when I worked with the Alliance for Gun Responsibility here, they told me they were going to go to the Portland City Council because they were thinking of cutting the gun violence budget. And so I said, well, we'll loan you panels that will be helpful. So the Raging Grannies showed up with their hats and everything, and they held up these panels, which were made by other people. And the result is not only did the city council pass the budget that they were going to cut, but they also got on TV and in press. So we're just kind of showing you what your art has the possibility of doing. We have displayed exhibitions in museums, galleries, libraries, city halls. This one is Oakland City Hall. We had it up for an entire month. Those doors open into the city council chamber. So literally, these legislators had to look at these panels before they went in to make their decisions. And the Seahawks Stadium was the place where we were invited to be part of an alliance meeting for King County and beyond, and we were the art part. So we always say, have panel, will travel. And our work is built on partnerships, and we'd be thrilled to welcome Grandmothers for Gun Responsibility as one of our partners. And we want to show you just a short clip about partnerships. You can make it bigger, right? I don't think they can hear it yet, Diana.
Can you hear it now?
No. Okay, wait a minute. Wait. You're going back.
Well, my name is Cathy DeForest. I'm the executive director of
Can you hear
Vision
it?
Quilt.
Yes,
And
we
our
can hear it now.
mission is to empower communities to create solutions to gun violence through the power of art and inclusive dialogue. We're really interested in getting all people with all different perspectives to talk and then to act.
A lot of gangs started right here at this park. So we can stop it right now today at this park.
Working with our partners, we lift the voices of those who live with gun violence every day.
Stop. We need to stop the gun violence. We need to stop and think before we react. We need to stop and not be afraid to speak up and come together as a village.
Our partnerships amplify voices, build community engagement, and promote action.
With the coalition, we believe that people who experience violence and live in violent families and communities hold the keys to break the cycle.
Communities that come together to solve this public health crisis are inspiring. And Vision Quilt is honored to be part of this work.
We'd like to give a special shout out to Vision Quilt for their amazing work that you're doing in the community for our children, helping them to use art as a way to be able to exercise voice.
Through our partnerships in Oakland, Chicago, and beyond, we train community leaders to integrate the Vision Quilt model into their ongoing work. We work with schools to empower students to create change.
Gun violence is a really big problem, and if we come together, we can all stop it.
These young people have a lot to teach us. We need to support their solutions to end gun violence.
The kids put in so much work, and everyone in our school community puts in so much work. Everyone at Vision Quilt puts in so much work to pull this off. And I think when we actually see the event take place and get to see all of that hard work come to fruition, it's just really powerful. The kids have a voice and they're like at the center stage, and I just really appreciated having the partnership to make that happen.
Together with our partners, we create solutions to transform communities and save lives.
I saw now, instead of you see a kid doing art, I saw visionaries. I saw students who took a quilt pen, And they made it their home so that they could do something decent and good for the world. You can't buy that.
What we can imagine, we can create. Join us.
Okay. Thank you, Diane. All right, you can do the next slide. So this was a photograph of one of the exhibitions we had in Oakland, and 600 people came to that exhibition over a period of four plus days. And the students are the docents and the curators of the exhibition. So we began to work with a charter school in East Oakland in 2016. Unfortunately, there was a homicide not at the school, but of one of the middle school students. And they are an expeditionary school, so they do deep dives into curriculum. And the students actually asked that the next expedition be done on gun violence. And that's how we started this toolkit, which is called Addressing Gun Violence, Creating Visionary Storytellers and Community Activists. Then COVID hit. Well, we got an innovation grant from the John Legend Foundation and the National Writing Project. And so when COVID hit, we decided to create it as a digital toolkit. So each of the things in the table of contents are related to a hyperlink that can take teachers to information. Okay, next slide. And our work is based on the CASTLE model of social and emotional learning competencies and self-awareness, social awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and self-management. It works for adults as well as for young people. The students, and even in our training of adults, we ask people to study the root causes and impacts of gun violence. And it even includes views on restrictive masculinity, the messages that we give to young boys and men about not being able to cry, not being able to show emotion, having to hold it all in. So people do a deep dive into those kind of things, as well as poverty and racism. This was done by a young person. You could say, let's end this. And it starts with hate and discrimination, deportation, all of those things. That was done by a young person. Okay, Diane. One of the things we have people look at is the adverse childhood experiences and also the environments that, are part of how the young people and all of us are growing up with. But we go to the next slide and also look at what builds resiliency within us internally, personally, and what are the community environments that it takes to break the chain of ancestral trauma. And so it's our program is very educational based, and a lot of you, I'm sure, have experience in these things that we're pointing out, and we have our training so that this kind of information can be shared by people like you. Okay. And more than ever, we need to practice self-care, including myself. And this is something that we got from an organization called No Resolve, which is a suicide prevention nonprofit. And I challenged myself by trying to do all 4 of these each day or even each week. And it is a challenge, but it's what we all need to, keep our mental health at an optimum level. So we do techniques related to that. That's okay. All right, so now we're going to show you one more brief clip that kind of talks about the impact of this program on youth in East Oakland.
Guns are now the #1 killer of American children and teens.
My friends always talk about guys that shootings every day. I have family members that have been killed.
My uncle got shot in his head.
It's very normalized when it shouldn't be.
Gun violence is a huge and constant worry, not just for students and teachers, but parents too.
Violence is multi-generational, and we have to solve for it. So in 2016, educators at Lighthouse Community Public Schools came together with Vision Quilt to develop a comprehensive curriculum for middle school students to address gun violence through math, humanities, art, and science.
The curriculum made sense to the kids and it allowed them to unpack how they felt about it.
When we walk into classrooms, we see kids with bright eyes. We see kids who are engaged and excited because this is a topic they could take ownership for some solutions in their community.
The toolkit is organized, structured, and it's also flexible.
The subject of gun violence is extremely important for students. Surprisingly, students who were reserved at the beginning of the program were transformed into active participants by the end.
The students were blown away. One of the impacts of this is the kids becoming mature. They identify the problems. They see this as something that should be stopped. It brought up a lot of courage from our students. It brought up a lot of curiosity, but they were able to see it through math.
With this curriculum, if you have no teaching experience or very little teaching experience, there's so much that's already done for you, which has been very helpful. And then if you do have some experience, you can kind of take it and adjust it to fit your students.
Art can help kids find the words they don't know how to say out their mouth as of yet. For a teenager to have an outlet to express yourself that lessens the burden of your stress that you carry around with you on a daily basis.
What sets the gun violence module apart from many other approaches is the social emotional learning work is embedded in the curriculum.
The curriculum culminates in a student-led public exhibition of their work.
This expedition is incredibly powerful. It is a way to really become a change maker. We are young kids in 8th grade doing something that a lot of other kids don't do. And it can show that we really care about where we live and other people's lives.
Art is an alternative response to more violence.
A lot of me and my friend, before this whole project even started, we were assuming this is just gonna be some other kind of project. But this one has a difference, actually has a really good impact because really think about it, not a lot of people are educated on gun violence, and this is really eye-opening.
Our kids get to do something beautiful for our city and have a lasting impact. It feels small to them, but having an opportunity to make a stamp on your community in a positive way is very empowering. They have become really mindful with how they say things. They have become more careful towards the feelings of others. Vision Quilt is definitely a part of the repair and healing process that this country needs to go through. Education is the tool. And I think the more that our kids realize this isn't normal or the life that they want to live, the less likely they are to participate in it later.
It is so important that curriculum content forces students to grapple with issues of how to address societal challenges.
Students 10 years from now are going to be talking about the work that they did here. They're going to be talking about how they didn't even know how powerful it was going to be for them. And then it was.
If you're considering doing a project that's going to impact your community, this is an excellent one. I would highly recommend this curriculum to teachers because it's bringing together arts and the voice of children to really send a strong message.
This unique toolkit is free and adaptable to your community.
Thank you, Vision Quilt.
Vision Quilt would like to thank the staff, students, and families of Lighthouse Community Public Schools. Contact Vision.
Okay, thank you, Diana.
Well,
This slide is an example of what was done this March, a few months ago. The math teachers took two variables. This is 8th grade, and they studied two variables like poverty and racism or poverty and gun violence. And then I'm not a math person. They plotted the information and talked about what their conclusions were related to these two variables. Okay, next slide. The other thing, Diana, you should talk about this.
Sure. So part of the curriculum is the English portion, right? And it's very custom designed, so the teachers themselves can choose the kind of projects that the students will do. Some teachers choose to do poetry, others choose to do essays, and for this year specifically, they chose to do an essay. So we thought, parents are going to come, and I don't think many parents are going to sit there and read 20 or 75 essays for each kid, right? So we had the idea to animate. As Kathy said, I'm a graphic designer. I'm very into digital art, and I also animate. But this was so we gave the students a list of characters, and they each chose their own character, and then they gave us an idea for a background. We also do a lot of work with generating with AI. So we told them, give us any background, any idea you can think of, and we will make it happen for you. So then we recorded their audio and then we made them into animation. So I can play this one for you all to see.
My name is Hazel Suarez and I go to Lodestar. Did you know that a 13-year-old shot an 8-year-old because they were left unattended with access to a firearm? Many irresponsible people have access to firearms unattended with bad intentions for their use. This causes gun violence because people are not responsible enough to own a gun. The impact is they can do bad things. Easy access to firearms leads to gun violence because guns can get into the wrong hands. Suicide with a firearm is more likely than homicide with a firearm. This means that if guns are brought into the wrong hands, they can cause harm to a whole community. One way my community can address this issue is by having background checks before selling a gun to someone. And if you already own a firearm, keep it in safe possession. An article called Education Often Skimmed Over in Violence Debate by the Century Foundation says of the 310 million guns across the country, 1 in 3 are in households that have children and don't keep their guns locked in secure places. Almost 3/4 of children under the age of 10 know where their parents keep their firearms, and a 36% admitted handling the weapons. This means that parents don't keep their firearms in secure places, making it easier for a child who has not fully developed yet or know what they're doing to access that firearm and harm themselves or the people around them. There should be more laws to prevent gun violence because right now, many people are getting injured by weapons, and there are many things that the government could be doing to prevent these injuries and homicides.
I'm going to pause this or stop. I'm going to check out actually.
There we go. So that was one of the 8th graders. We did 76 animations. I just want to shout out my family, my kids, and my partner who also helped in making all of that happen. But it was very powerful for the students to see that in animation, and it was an easier way for families to listen to the issue. So you can see how, seeing it in animation, having a child's voice has a very deep impact. So that was the animations.
So one of the things that we did, Diana put QR codes on those animations during the exhibition in Oakland, but we now have an exhibition here in Portland based on work that we've been doing with the art therapy faculty and graduate students at Lewis and Clark College. So we took these animations with the QR codes. So when people come to that exhibition, which is up until November, they can actually, on their phone, hear this animation because of the QR code. So now it's like, have QR code, will travel. All right. The other thing that we're very proud of is that we have 1.6 miles of Vision Quilt panels on International Boulevard in East Oakland, and it's part of the Peace in the Streets campaign. And they have been up for several years, and they will be up for a total of 7. And this is a map of part of where it is. And when we're not looking at the slide presentation, you'll be able to see the 5-foot banner that's in my office. But this is very powerful. What was on this street before was needles, drugs, garbage. So we not only brought beauty to this area, we brought messages from policemen, from gun owners, from young people, from survivors. It's very uplifting. And that's the kind of thing that could be done in any city. We also, as part of the Peace in the Streets campaign, Diana helped design this yard sign. We took the horizontal panels and turned them into yard signs so that on one side was the image and on the other side was this pledge, which one of our team members created. I pledge to create peace in my heart, to practice peace in my home, and to extend peace to my community. And another community-based organization liked it, so we put their QR code on one side and our QR code on the others. And some of these yard signs years later are still in people's yards. Okay. So these panels, as I've said, can be used in advocacy and in community dialogues. And dialogues are really at the heart of Vision Quilt. So when an exhibition is up, we try to get people in there who may differ in opinions to talk about things and then to create, possible solutions for their neighborhood or their city. This is from the Hands Off March, which was a couple of months ago, and people wore these during the march. And our main mission is to amplify the visions. I think that this Vision Quilt panel really says the best of Vision Quilt. Let's reimagine safety. Let's invest in our community, help to house people, feed people, listen to people, heal people, employ people, and teach people. So we actually have silkscreened this in some of our exhibitions so that people walk away with a poster, a free poster. This is some of the impact that we have tracked. 88% increased their knowledge about gun violence and its causes. 93% increased their ability to listen to other people's ideas. 92%, this one is the most important one, I think, is they're more likely to take action when someone is being bullied or hurt. And 91% stated their intention to prevent gun violence within their family, school, or community. And 95% learned how art, poetry, music, or video can impact change. We invite people to do poetry as well, or performance. One group of students actually created a song. This slide, Diana spoke in Sacramento to a Moms Demand Action group of several hundred people, took students from the charter school, and they presented information to their legislator. So as a partner, in conclusion, we train you to host your own workshops, your exhibitions and community dialogues, and to help you be part of your systemic change efforts. And we'd love you to become one of our partners. So things that we're involved in right now, this art therapy faculty and graduate students at Lewis and Clark, it's really exciting because they have the clinical background to deal with trauma and issues, but they also have an art background. And so they have been trained, and now they're offering workshops to the community. We have a vice president at Legacy Health, which is one of our larger hospitals here in Portland, who wants 700 nurses to go through a modified version of the training. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, one of the guards was killed protecting a patient who was in the hospital, and the nurses are still traumatized by that death. And the new vice president wants to create, as she said, new memories, new stories, new visions for those nurses. And I didn't realize how nurses are really confronted by violence, language, and sometimes threats nationwide. The other partner that we have that's very exciting, one of the men who served, I think it's 24 years inside prison, started teaching drawing while he was incarcerated. And he has a program called Art Inside Out. And he let people drew things as presents for their children or their partner. But now he wants to put Vision Quilt in there as well, so that people are actually giving back to the community as part of their restorative justice work. So we are in a major transition and would like to explore ways that you can incorporate visioning beyond violence into your dynamic new organization, Grandmothers for Gun Responsibility. And the first step could be training facilitator trainers in our model, and then being able to offer it to your constituencies and your communities. And thank you. So that's the end of our presentation. We have a good 45 minutes to answer questions and hear comments. But Diana or Margaret, do you want to say anything? Why don't you take the slide presentation away, and do you want to add things, Diana? You've been so integral to our success.
Thank you, Kathy. I think the only thing I would add is that we custom design, right? So we really like to do a good job of understanding the community that we are working with, to make sure that the work that we do is really impactful to that community. There's no one glove fits all with the work that we're doing here. So that's a big part of what we do. So we are open to the partnerships of, and that's in really learning about your community and how we can help make that impact.
Yeah, that's at the heart of it, because you know your community, you know what you want to do with this kind of thing. And so that's why we're training trainers to facilitate this process. So I think Margaret is in the public space. Margaret, do you want to say anything? Margaret Hoffman. Okay. So let's just open it up to questions and comments.
Maybe could we go back to where whatever is called the little pictures of everybody, so we can see your group here? Yeah,
That'd
good.
be great. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
So, Margaret, do you want to facilitate this, or you want just people to take themselves off mute and ask their questions or make their comment?
Well, first of all, I want to salute you, Kathy and Diana and Margaret Hoffman. I want to salute you for your vision 10 years ago and the work you've accomplished.
Thank you.
And the impact you are having and will continue to have. And we would be really honored to be a partner with you in this work. So I begin with that gratitude.
Thank you.
Yeah, for you. And I would invite any reactions or thoughts or questions from people at this point. I see a couple people have joined us since the beginning. One is Sarah Dean, who, like Maureen Frisch and John, are members of the Grandmothers Communications Committee. I'm really glad that you are here and learning about this, so we can put our visionary caps on and think how we want to do this. But what kinds of comments or reactions come up for you that you might be willing to share?
I would like to jump in and say, I just think this program is amazing. So moving. It's just stunning what you've accomplished and what we all can accomplish with this. I'm just so impressed by this. And Margaret, I'm looking forward to our next communications committee meeting, where we can talk about how we might want to work and how we will work with you and integrate this into our work, because I think this is just phenomenal, just phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was very impressed towards the end of your presentation there, where, we can all look at this and feel, excited and positive and optimistic and all that. But then you kept saying, they keep thinking, well, what about the results? What did we change? What really happened here? And it was great to see the change in attitudes of the children and what they are willing to now do and how they think differently, and perhaps, now bring a different, generational feeling about gun violence into those communities, which is very different than what had been before. So that was nice to see.
Thank you, Jonathan. I want to add to that. We knew that some of the people that had been on our teen council are now in college. So they were part of our process when they were 13. Some of them are pursuing, one in journalism, one is a nurse, pursuing nursing. Another one wants to be an immigration lawyer. God knows we need them right now. But we had a really interesting thing happen. So I had a boy, a young man, who was in 8th grade. Actually, he was in 7th grade. We put him on our teen council. He now is starting his sophomore year at UC Berkeley. He called me up and said, could I be a summer intern volunteer? I haven't heard from him, how many years is that? I don't know, 6 or something. And he has been working with Diana and me. And then he said, can my sister volunteer? Can my friend volunteer? Well, his sister got a different internship, but his friend is at Sacramento State. They're both business majors. And Diana in particular is helping them learn about social media, and they're writing blogs for us. But that was like out of the blue. So we don't have enough money to do longitudinal studies. That's something, if grandmothers wants to do that, we welcome that. It is hard to gather data from young people, even when we're in a school, when the teachers are saying, okay, fill out this pre-questionnaire and the post-questionnaire, but we attempt it. But we do have, we also have data from people who have seen the exhibitions, and those are all in the 90% of people who are saying, how much they learned and how important it is to hear these amplified voices.
I think whenever you can show people the efficacy, the strength, and the transformation in real terms and real facts, all the better. They would be much more willing to jump on board with something that is obviously proving itself to be successful. It's making a change. It's not just talking about change, it's making a change.
Yeah, we have a 30-minute, you saw the trailer to the toolkit, the Addressing Gun Violence, Creating Visionary Storytellers and Change Makers, but we have a 30-minute film that we did for teachers, and it was just showcased at an International Arts for Healing Film Festival last 2 weeks ago. And in that, one of the teachers said, I had a student who said, I'm very upset today. And she said, what are you upset about? And he said, this topic that we're dealing with. And it turns out his brother had been arrested for being involved in a shooting. And the teacher said, well, you don't have to do this today if you don't want to. And he said, no, I'm going to do it. And she said she felt like that was the moment in time when he chose a different path. So that's another testimony, and that's in the film.
Right.
Very powerful, I think. Other questions and comments?
Hi, this is Margaret Hoffman, and I'm taking myself off mute for just a second because I wanted to share that I've been a volunteer with Vision Quilt for the last couple of years. As you can tell by this presentation, Cathy and Diana are our lead vocals. They are our main singers. I'm the backup singer. I do a lot of the administrative work. But the importance of Vision Quilt and what it does really struck home to me when I took the time to create my own panel. And I cannot tell you how cathartic it is to sit down and challenge yourself to either write a poem or write an essay, or then to create your own piece of art that helps you express your thoughts about being a visionary. I'm not much of an artist. Cathy encouraged me all along. But I would just welcome anybody to go through that exercise because I think it is the best way to understand how Vision Quilt can impact people. With that, I'm going to go back on mute because I'm in this public place.
And that is part of the training. So we don't want anyone to facilitate this work without having gone through the process themselves. It's essential. Yeah, and we support you. People who say, I'm not an artist, it's like, we'll use your words, or we'll help you unfold that artist that is alive and well in you and hasn't maybe had the permission to come out. Linda, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, I really applaud your work. I think it's amazing. I understand it because I worked for many years. I don't drive into Boston very much anymore because the traffic is so awful and I'm getting older. But I worked for many years in South Boston with a group that we actually were originally called Medicine Wheel. It's now called Spoke because it takes every spoke on the wheel. And so, but it was the premise was that art is a transformative experience. And it brought together adjudicated kids in the community or kids who are in a residential program to recover from drugs. And it's amazing to watch how people do when they're given permission in a really safe place to access the deep part of us that is creative. And it doesn't, I have so many people who say, I can't draw, I'm not an artist. It has nothing to do with it. It's a deep centered part of all of us. And any kind of art. They've done woodcuts, they do poetry, they partnered with a wonderful program with the policeman in Boston who spent a day with them, with these kids from the street and who have always seen policemen as, the authority figures that are their adversaries. And they always look at the kids, the policemen look at the kids and think they're all punks. And they spend a day together writing poetry and journaling and then putting their hands in clay together and create, holding hands and doing it, putting them in clay to create hands like this, which they then painted bronze. And they did an exhibition in all the police stations in Boston. This was all before COVID. COVID has changed a lot, but we can bring it back now. I mean, it's not completely gone, but I applaud all that work. I have one or two questions. Well, one question really is that when you partner with us, are you looking for us in individual places in the country to invite you to come in and facilitate a situation? So we need to identify a specific school or a church group or community group that we think that would be great for you to visit. So you're looking for us to do that, to facilitate that? Or are you looking for us, as you said, for kind of documentation of results or a linear understanding of what's actually happening? I just wondered what the exact partnership would entail.
Well, I think it's one that we would talk about together, but our model now is that we would not be doing the direct work. We would be training you all to do the work for whoever it is, whether it's incarcerated youth or your legislatures or whoever it is. So Margaret worked some on a service agreement. This is all kind of a work in progress. But basically, we want to hand our processes over to you for you to shape it. Like what you just described, Linda, with the policeman. I mean, that's incredible. That should be showcased as well as, you will be adding to this story, right? This visioning beyond violence. So it would also be a partnership where we would kind of uplift your work and you would uplift, whatever work the rest of you did. I mean, we would just love you to make, visioning beyond violence, our new word, embedded into your organization. That it's just a major program for you and that you would do it however you do it. And you would let us, you would update us from time to time. So I think we would just keep designing it with you and let you go your way with it. You will go beyond. I already know you're visionaries because you're putting this organization together for the entire nation. You already know the power of grandmothers and grandfathers in this country. Does that answer your question, Linda?
Yes, thank you. It does. That's what I needed, the specific link.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I'm 77, so it's I'm traveling less, and most of the training will be done by Zoom. Diana and maybe Margaret will travel some, but basically we're trying to set it up so that we can, reach as much as we can with our own self-care as part of the process.
Mhm.
Other questions or comments?
Like to comment. This is Sarah Dean. I'm just really impressed with seeing that happen, and my mind is going through like a lot of the different organizations that are in Seattle that could benefit from that. And also, it feels like a perfect opportunity for grandmothers for gun responsibility to reach out intergenerationally, which is what we need to be doing because it's our future that we're so concerned about. And to be able to hear an example where someone actually went in a different direction than they would have normally gone just because they were able to express themselves and get that feeling of transformative, aha. I think that it's something that we could benefit from in all the cities. And the other thing I was real impressed about was the panel for everyone to look at as they go into the voting part of things, so that it's on their mind rather than having a lack of empathy, because we know that until it happens to you or someone close to you, a lot of times people don't understand the impact of gun violence. So I really appreciate you, and I look forward to attending whatever training you have.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. And I think one of the things I didn't, can you see this banner in the back? That's how large they are. They're 5 foot tall. And we've also worked with survivors. We have another process that can be used with survivors if they don't want to make the large panels. We had them honoring the people that they lost. And that we did during COVID. One of the major women in Oakland brought people together during COVID, and they honored their loved ones, and we put it on our website with their permission. And I also want to say, and Linda kind of touched on this, I'm only now learning about the neuroscience related to art. It's really powerful. And we want to bring more and more of that into our training because, like she said, it changes brain waves. Even if you scribble, they've documented that your pathways are a little different if you color or scribble or do clay. And so that's part of it. And the other thing that we want to develop more, and you could help us do that, is we know of a person back east in Connecticut who is using improv and mindfulness training to help young people think about escalated situations. So she gives them like a narration, like this guy likes your girlfriend. What are you going to do about it? And she gives them a script, one from the amygdala and one from the prefrontal cortex. So the thinking brain and kind of the reactive brain. And so they practice a narration, and then she gives them another situation, not scripted, and asks them to act that out. And what it does is it actually gives them a rehearsal in their mind of not just reacting, but stepping back and using their thinking brain. So some of that can be brought into, well, all of us. I mean, sometimes we can turn on the TV and feel like we want to go into a rage, but we need to step back and use the thinking part of our brain too. I don't know if I explained that very well, but these are some of the dynamics that can be integrated. And I'm sure you'll come up with ideas we haven't thought of. We believe in partnerships. We know that you're just as amazing as you think we are. So, Diana, you want to say anything else from your perspective?
I would just encourage everyone to go on our website and look at our virtual gallery. It's under the impact tab at the top. I've been working with Cathy for over 5 years now, I believe, and I don't think I've seen every single panel yet. We have so many really powerful panels. So if you go there, you can see all of the partners that we've worked with, and then you can click on the partners. Oh, there we go.
So the tab is up here. It's called Impact, and it's under here. It says See Results.
And then the Vision Quilt Voices, we have a Walk Like a Visionary part of our program as well that involves poetry and music making. So if you go into the Walk Like a Visionary tab, you can also see the poems from participants. There we go. And you can also upload your own if you're interested in making your own panel outside of whatever training we have. Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's been said, I'll say it again, it's really powerful and amazing work. I grew up in East Oakland. I've had many instances of gun violence. I lost a lot of friends very close to me, and it all started when I was in middle school. So it's very special to me to be able to work with middle schoolers here in East Oakland. And I've said it before that I didn't see myself as a victim of gun violence. I didn't see myself as a survivor of gun violence because I'd never been shot. It wasn't until I started working with Vision Quilt that I really began to understand the impact that gun violence had in my life, in my own personal nervous system, and how much it really impacted the way I made decisions throughout my life. So, this work is very personal to me. Creating my first panel and then seeing it on international here in Oakland, it's been life-changing, totally. And it's been the same for a lot of people and youth that we worked here with here in Oakland. And I'm really excited to bring it out to wherever you guys want us to bring it to. And really excited for this partnership and for this next level of our visioning beyond violence and what we can do for this country that, really needs this transformation on a personal and nationwide level.
One more question, and this is coming very much from, a particular assignment that we have with the Communications Committee to talk about safe storage and how that can help reduce childhood death from guns, which we all know how bad that is. How in your experience is there a point of view or any insights you could give us on how the kids in the communities that you work in think about safe storage, think about the fact that if you store a gun safely, there would be less suicide, there would be less, accidental death of kids and so on and so forth. Do you have any information, anecdotal or anything that might help our perspective?
I can speak for like Oakland in particular, and I see a lot of the, gun kind of culture here is very generational, right? It begins with the adults in the family and then kind of gets passed down. A lot of the kids that we work with don't really think about gun storage before the program. I think there is a very 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 huge sense that guns are a normal part of life. And I think
I'm sorry, do they have guns in their homes and it's a normal part of life?
Yeah. And it begins with the adults. So it kind of gets then passed down. And like, for example, one of the schools that we work with, there's a liquor store across the street. There's also a park, and that park has been shut down, I think, for over 20 years now because too many people were shot and murdered at that park. So you can just imagine kind of like the sense of that neighborhood where there's a school full of kids that can't go to the park across the street because of gun violence, right? And I think that, messaging and really connecting with the youth where they are, and kind of just giving them that aha moment, like someone mentioned earlier, to understand that this is not normal and this is not the way that they need to live, and kind of giving them those conversations, gearing them to understand that they can change that. And I think when it comes to gun storage itself, it's really an afterthought. It's not something that's on the forefront of their mind or their parents' mind.
But that's our hope, Jonathan, that when they study it, whether it's a workshop that one of the grandmothers helps to co-host, when they study that you are not safer with a gun, an unsecured gun, that you are more likely to have accidents or suicides. When they
taking the gun, yeah.
When they learn that, then they are the ones who might be the teacher in the family.
Yeah. And we've seen in the past an instance where, when the program was done with Lighthouse, another one of the schools here in Oakland, there were more students that were speaking up when they knew that somebody had a gun in the school. So the administrators were able to prevent anything from happening because the students themselves were actually starting to speak up about the issue and not allowing that in their own school.
Well, and it kind of points to perhaps we can't solve the problem of the adults having guns in the house and having them not secured right now, but maybe we can build a generation who in the future will take a different path and think about the consequences of having an unsecured gun in their home because they went through your program or whatever, Yeah.
Also imagine that there's an exhibition of student work that you have helped to create, and the parents who have the unsecured gun see, 20 Vision Quilt panels and artist statements that, touch your heart, and then maybe you start thinking, or you watch an animation about safe storage that teaches. So it's, as the one principal said, education is the key.
Right.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is where you're getting the children. Are you going to the schools? Are you going to community centers? Who are you? What is that process of going from our thoughts, our curriculum to the schools?
Well, it's really, we developed this program in Southern Oregon, rural Southern Oregon, okay? And I got a call from a doctor who knew the founder of this charter school, and they told me about the incident. So it's all that grassroots things that all of you have connections to people in your communities. It doesn't have to just be schools. It could be an after-school program. It could be a Boys and Girls Club. It could be an incarcerated youth center where we worked for 2 years. It could be through a PTA. It's all about how you would want to reach out after you got the training to decide. And really the intergenerational thing that I think Jonathan or someone spoke about, you can do this with grandmothers, parents, and young people together. That's how they did it in Chicago. They just brought whoever was interested and they started working on the art together. So then they had to listen to the older generation, the younger generation. It's like a quilting bee, right?
Yeah.
I think, Ashley, you had your hand up.
Oh, yeah, I was kind of jumping on Jonathan's coattails because I grew up, the guns were out, they were not taboo. My dad took us out, we had a respect for them, and then you'd have the kids come over, our friends would come over, and then they'd look up and they'd see it when we're walking by the room, and they're like, ooh, guns. And we would turn and go, they're not for touching. It's a look, but do not touch. And it was just part of our lives. Not until when I became a parent that I was just like, oh my goodness, we should have had those locked up. But anytime to empower the kids, I am all, I love programs that empower the kids with the knowledge that they need. And I love getting into the schools to teach that because, a lot of the times, even with other subjects, just like they learn about fire safety there and things like that. but then I kind of also go to another side where it's like the safes and the, we push that, but they're so expensive to get that I've been a foster parent for a long time and found out some of us, they would just put it in their trunk and they were like, oh, it's safe, it's locked away. And I'm like, the trunk is not safe space, especially when somebody could break into a car pretty easily. But yeah, just an amazing, and I love the art idea of it and them being able to express themselves and just bringing in more people for kiddos to connect with and feel seen, because that's a big thing with me, that a lot of kids kind of fall between the cracks. And that actually art is how I found my adopted son. I went to a group home and he was coloring, and I was like, oh, you're doing art? And he was like, are you talking to me? And I was like, yeah. And he got super excited, showed me his art, and that's how we connected. And he's now a 21 year old man, young man. But yeah, so the art is just, I praise you for that.
Well,
yeah.
Bless
That's a
you,
beautiful
Ashley.
story.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I also want to say, kind of piggybacking on what Ashley just shared, you could have exhibitions where the young people's work and the adult work is together. That's what we're doing at Lewis and Clark right now. And some people are knocked out by what the young people are saying. Some people are knocked out by the adults. And then to have a community dialogue space where you actually are listening to each other so that you hear things like Ashley shared of, I grew up with guns. We talked about gun safety. And someone else says, I love going hunting, or whatever it is, you're widening your view of who your community is and how you can support each other to be safe and healthy and vibrant. Any other comments or questions?
Well, I think it seems like we've covered a lot of really beautiful stories, fantastic points, gotten inspired.
I want to say our major challenge is funding. We used to give this away. We can't do it anymore. With the recent changes in the administration, all of our grants seem to have been dried up. So part of your partnership is going to have to be, having some funds for us to offer the trainings. And I hate to say that, but it's just reality of who we are. We're very tiny, but we're very mighty. And we're developing these materials and charging people for the training now. But as Diana said in the beginning, we custom design. So I don't know how you would, you could do one overall training and then, custom design it yourselves, however you want to roll it out. So I'm just so impressed with all of you and kind of spanning the United States here in your work. So I applaud. You get the visionary seal for sure. Each and every one of you.
Well, Cathy, that makes perfect sense to us that you do need to charge, and that would be, we totally respect that and honor that. Absolutely. It is a tough time for a lot of the nonprofits in this country right now. It's a tough time for a lot of people in this country right now. So all the ways we can help each other and support each other are, this sounds almost trite, but more important than ever. Yeah.
And it's really about building coalitions. I consider you a coalition, and we've worked with the Oakland coalitions. Now we're working with the Office of Violence Prevention here in Portland. It's all about coalition buildings because we're unstoppable. We believe the same thing. This is a solvable problem.
Yes.
It is solvable, and the more we can amplify that message, the more we can create it. Well, that's our motto, right? What we can imagine, we can create.
It's a great motto. It's a great motto. So I would just say to everyone who attended today, thank you. Great interest, great questions. I think the energy to go forward is palpable. It is clear. And I would welcome any of you to please get hold of me, mheldring@gmail.com, to indicate your interest in forming a grandmother's kind of steering group or consulting group or envisioning group to work with Vision Beyond Violence, which is just a great new name. Congratulations, just great. And Cathy, maybe you and Margaret and Diana and I can talk a little bit once a couple people have identified themselves or I have reached out to them to start to do some planning. And for those of you who I don't know from different states, Cheryl and I think Ashley may be gone now, but there were a couple others. Welcome. If you would like to join Grandmothers for Gun Responsibility, just hop to the website. The URL is in the chat and sign up. That would be wonderful. Just for people to know, we do at this point have at least one member in 41 different states. So I know. We are going to be a robust, impactful national group of older people, grandmothers and grandfathers. That is the confidence I feel, especially amplified when we meet people like you.
Thank you.
Who just carry the heart and the stories, and as John was pointing out, the impact, the outcomes to persuade people. So unless there are any last comments, I would pause for one more second. I would say to everybody, please be a part of this. You came today because you are clearly interested. You resonate with the arts. You resonate with communications. I happen to know that Linda, who spoke about the Spoke in Boston, is an artist. I have her art right here in this room, and she has been my art teacher. And I am one of her pupils who says, I can't do this. I'm not an artist. And Linda has helped me find what meager artist there
We
is.
love people like you. We change your mind.
Yeah, no, I
Right.
get the art, and I'm fascinated as a psychologist by the neuroscience of this. That is going to be really interesting to learn more about. So, Vision Beyond Violence, visioning beyond violence. You are wonderful women. You are change makers. You are inspirers, and we shall go forward together. So thank you.
I can't say enough about Diana because her millennial energy and her talents and her lived experience and her commitment to live is phenomenal. Diana, did you want to say something?
No, just thank you. And I can't thank Cathy enough for her vision with visioning beyond violence and the courage to begin this and all of the grandmothers here and your courage to do this much needed work. There's not there's not many people in this day and age that, I mean, there's a lot, but we need more people that are willing to stand up and to speak up. And, especially when there's so many voices that are being silenced at this moment. I think that we are in a very pivotal time, and these coalitions and partnerships with like-minded folks that can envision a safer, more peaceful world are very, very much needed and a very powerful movement. So I'm grateful for all of you and honored to be in this space.
Yeah, Diana, let me just add, although I was born in San Francisco, I was raised in Union City, Hayward, San Lorenzo. I have relatives in Richmond and Oakland, and I know Oakland has been a challenging place, but I've always enjoyed that city, and I see some really positive changes in it when I visit there now. So thank you all for everything you're doing in these cities and helping children who need to see a better future and live a better future.
Thank you so much.
Amen.
Yeah.